Well, once again, good morning, and this is the March 17th, 2022 PMPC's full board meeting. So at this time, I'll punt it over to Dr. Manzi.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Sorry it coincided with today, but that's okay too. Anyways, hope all is well. We're going to now call the meeting to order. So let's establish a quorum. So Kathy, if you want to take roll call, that'd be great. Kathy, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. You want to take roll call?
Thank you.
Please? Thank you.
I'll take roll call. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Manzi.
Present.
Ms. Truly. She may be absent.
Present.
Oh, okay, Ms. Cadenas. Okay.
Present.
Thank you, Maria. Is Ms. Elliott here? No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Dr. McAloon?
Present.
Dr. Zapp?
Present.
Dr. Lee?
He got called into emergency surgery just a little while ago, so he's unable to attend.
Alrighty. Well, you still have your quorum. You've got 4 out of 7. Thank you.
All right. Here we go. So public comments on items not on the agenda. The board may not discuss or take action on any matter raised during the public comment section, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda of future meetings. So I would like to now go and review and approve and look for improvement of the December 10th, 2021 board meeting minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from our last board meeting. I second that motion. Cadenas.
Okay, I have a second on that motion. Kathy, so we approve those minutes, please.
Okay, Dr. Manzi.
Yes.
Dr. McAloon.
Yes.
Dr. Zapp.
I want to say yes, but I don't think I was at that meeting, so I probably should abstain, but that may not be a quorum.
I have to defer to Joe on this. Out of the 4.
I'm sorry. This is Joe. Yeah, we just need a majority of those present within the quorum. So as long as there are 3 affirmative votes to accept the minutes, then we're okay.
Okay, abstain.
Okay, Ms. Cadenas.
Approved.
Okay, so that motion passes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, we're going to receive in possible action on Executive Officer's Report, Brian Naslund.
Okay, this is the licensing program, and Dr. McAloon is the chair of that committee, so I'll turn it over to her.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Andrea to give the report of the licensing committee, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the following information is for the second quarter of fiscal year 21-22. Between October 1st and December 31st, there were 14 newly licensed DPMs. There's currently 25 pending applications with 2 candidates that recently completed their packages. And so far, PMBC had 8 of its applicants come from out of state, 16 were third-year residents from California, and 12 were third-year residents from an out-of-state program. Moving on to the renewals, there were 290 renewals mailed with 253 licenses renewed in quarter 2. There were no new residents added, so the license count is still at 128. And next we have a Breeze update. BMO 1652 was passed and put into production in December, and this changed the 4-page permanent license renewal application to a postcard format. Licensees are instructed to renew online through their Breeze account or to visit the board's website for the paper renewal. Next, we have a APMLE Part 3 update. The last Part 3 exam was administered on December 1st, with a total of 25 candidates that requested their score be sent to California. And of those candidates, 23 passed for a 92% pass rate. The next Part 3 exam will be held on June 2nd, and candidates wishing to participate will need to register by May 25th. And finally, we have the 3-month timeline. Do we have any questions?
Andrea, thank you for giving the report. Do any board members have any questions or concerns about the licensing program update? Then we thank you very much. We submit our report.
And Dr. Manzi, why don't you open up for public comment on each of these items?
Yes.
I think we skipped something in the beginning, so we're just going to do each item by item.
Okay, so I would like to open right now for any public comment before we go on. So if you could open the public comment, please, I'd appreciate it.
We are now open for public comment on agenda item 5. If you would like to make a comment, please type the word comment into the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send that comment to all participants. We will be showing visual instructions in just a moment. If you are a dial-in user, please dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order that we have requests for comments. Commenters will be limited to 2 minutes, and we will give you a 15-second warning. At the moment, our only participant of the public is a member of DCA. Do you wish to hold comments open for a small period of time?
You can close the public comments now. I think we can close the public comments.
Public comments are closed. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so we had someone, we did not vote on accepting this report. So I had for our licensing report. So do I have a motion to accept that? Or do we do this all at the end? Can't remember.
I believe it's usually at the end for the whole
Okay,
executive.
great. Thank you very much. All right. So next we're going to move on. If there's no more questions about the licensing, we're going to move on to our next item, which is, sorry, I'm having 2 screens here.
It was going to be the enforcement program update and possible action. Chair of that is Ms. Cadenas.
All right, Maria, you're on.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the staff, Bethany, to take over and give a report for the enforcement committee.
Good morning. This is Bethany DeAngelis. I feel like I'm getting a little feedback there. Okay. I think the enforcement report that covers October 31st. I'll start with the statistics. Attachment A shows the complaint data. We received 26 complaints over the second quarter. This is a 19% decrease compared to the same quarter a year ago. And the average days to close or assign a case is 6 days, which is within the DCA target. Moving to attachment B, we've got the investigation data. 27 desk investigations were assigned in the second quarter. That's a 21% decrease. 32 desk investigations were completed, a 41% decrease. And investigation processing time, desk investigations, decreased 50% with an average time of 58 days. There were 10 field investigations assigned, a 47% decrease, and 10 field investigations were completed, a 100% increase from 5 completed the year before. And there was a 48% increase in field investigation processing time. taking an average of 482 days to complete. If we look at both desk and field investigations, the case investigation times, we have an average day to complete at 241 days. This is, quite a bit above the DCA target set of 125 days. However, we had fewer desk investigations closed and a higher number of field investigations. So that increased that total number for this quarter. If we look at the end of the year, we might be seeing something a little more closer to the target. Also, case investigation aging shows that 32 complaints closed during quarter 2, 50% or 16 were closed within 90 days, 22% or 7 were closed between 91 days and 1 year, and 28% or 9 cases took longer than 1 year to complete. Attachment C covers the disciplinary data. For quarter 2, there were no new cases initiated, a 300% decrease over the prior year when 3 cases were initiated. But 4 final orders went into effect compared to 3 the prior year. No citations have been issued as of yet this fiscal year. And 3 probationers were added during this second quarter. And at the end of the quarter, there were 10 active licensees on probation. D shows the fiscal year to date. So this is quarters 1 and 2 of 21-22, and it's compared to the prior year of the 2021 data. So the total complaint intake decreased by 3% for both of those quarters over the year. Total investigations decreased 9%, and the average days to complete investigations increased by 63%. So that's quite an increase, and although I'm not entirely sure what is causing it, I am tracking this data, and hopefully we'll have a better idea of what's going on at the end of the year. 4 new cases were initiated through the Attorney General's office, and that was a 60% decrease from 10 cases the prior year, which is a higher number than usual. So we're looking more along the lines of what we get average at this point. And 4 final orders were issued compared to 6 last year. We had 1 accusation withdrawn, dismissed, or declined. No citations issued for the year as of yet. And finally, moving on to attachment E, we have the Attorney General case aging data. This data is information through January 26, 2022, the day I received their report. We have had various delays over the past couple of years, mainly due to the COVID pandemic. And at this time, I'd just like to bring the board's attention to the top couple of cases, especially case number 1. It's getting quite aged. This case has had numerous legal delays. We have got a criminal case that we are waiting for the result of that. A lot of reschedules for the cases and hearing, and just to let you know that because we have so few cases that result in disciplinary action each year, that this particular single case may throw off our statistics quite a bit for our discipline numbers. It should be closing soon. We have settlement talks in the works, but it is going to definitely throw off our statistics a bit because it's very aged. And at this time, we have about 14, maybe a couple more that aren't showing yet on the report, cases pending completion with the Attorney General's office. That's where we stand there. So, there's a couple other things I've added into F, there's no attachment, but the DCA performance measures, there's a website link there where we can go and look at all of the data that is submitted to DCA for each quarter. It is currently up to date through what we've provided here. And finally, on G, we have a new process for voting on board decisions. At this time, I believe that the board is mailed hard copy packets that they have to sign and either scan back or mail back. And we're going to be setting up a DCA email for each of the board members. Shortly following this meeting, I'll be sending out an email to each of the board staff with instructions to contact DCA, the Office of Information Services, to set up a password so you can access that email. And then you'll be getting some instructions on how we'll be doing the voting process moving forward. And it should simplify it and also have it be more secure. That ends the statistical portion of my report. Does the board have any questions?
I have a question. Is there, you stated that there's a 63% increase in delay, I guess, of adjudication of these, right? You said that it's taking longer or something?
It's definitely taking longer to close some of these cases. What am I looking at? Oh, I'm looking at the investigation times. Is that?
Yes, the investigation times. Was that the one that got increased by 63% and that was a lot?
It's showing a 63% increase for quarters 1 and 2 of this year over the prior fiscal year at this time.
I have a question.
But that could change a lot in the next couple of quarters.
Right. So is there a greater cost to the board if the time gets dragged out or doesn't really affect the cost to us? Because, right, this is a shared cost, right? So.
Yeah, the cost would be based on the number of hours that the investigators are actually working on the cases. So they have to track that. So it depends on how long the cases are taking them. More complicated cases take more hours. I can't imagine that this would cost the board more unless, somebody's padding hours or something's happening. Because it's just based on the number of hours taken to complete the case, not how long the case drags out.
It's like billable hours, basically.
Actual hours worked on the case. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on the statistics before moving forward? Okay, I will go on to segment 2, which is the probation program update. Again, I've been having a little bit of a challenge in tracking the cost recovery. I have been working up until this morning still with Breeze staff to try to get an accurate report. And at this time, they only see one payment being received from October 1st through December 31st, which is possible, but just feels a little unlikely to me. It looks like the information I received from Kathleen Cooper through budgets showed 3 payments made, which is still pretty low. So it may be that we just have a quarter where we haven't received many payments, and I'll be able to have better gauge that with our next quarter coming up. But I am still working with them to get a queue developed and just more accurate reporting, since these payments are now being made online and we're not receiving them all directly into our office. So it just makes it a little bit more technically challenging to track. But I'll continue to update the board with the information that I have. So it looks like we either received $500 or $1,500 for quarter 2 with the information I have. It's still a low quarter. We tend to have those occasionally. So unfortunately, that's the best I can do at this time. And does anybody have any questions before I move on to section 3? Okay. My final section is the consultant and expert program update. Right now, the only update has to do with the consultant expert applications. I did work with the enforcement committee this last quarter, and Dr. Lee updated our application form for expert witnesses and consultants. We changed some of the information in questions 4 and 5 to make it more accurate and current. I have samples attached, attachment F, of both the original form and the updated form. And along with that, we have one applicant. This person has applied for consultant or expert. They're similar roles, so I can speak to this individual and ask them which they prefer. We do have a greater need for consultants, although there's more of a time commitment, so it will be up to the individual. But the committee to date has reviewed the applicant's, criteria. She qualifies. I was able to complete 2 of 3 reference checks. The third individual did not respond, but this applicant is now presented to the board to discuss and vote on.
So is it time to comment on this applicant?
do I need to make a motion to accept it first before we can discuss it?
Okay.
Is that, I'm asking.
I don't know. I'd have to.
I think you could discuss it first if you
Right.
want to.
Okay. So I have just one concern with this applicant, and actually with our whole process of licensing of what we're asking are the minimum to be. She is board certified, I noticed, by the American Board of Podiatric Medicine. She is not board certified by a surgical board that the board, according to the checklist, I guess recognizes. So I don't have an issue so much with her as much as I do think that when hiring, I think we do need consultants that do a broad range of podiatric medicine and surgery. However, since her board certification and her interests were in minimal invasive surgery, I think that if you have a case that does not involve that type of surgery, but does involve more, conventional surgeries, she's not board certified in that realm. So I don't think she should be assigned those cases. That's my concern.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I didn't realize that she was not, that the board was not one of the ones the board approved. So actually she wouldn't qualify per board.
Well, her certification for podiatric medicine is fine. There are podiatrists that don't do surgery, but her minimal invasive surgery board, I don't believe is one that, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, this is my own personal feeling on it, but it's not listed on our list, and I don't see it as a recognized board in the greater sense.
What was the board she was?
She's certified by the minimal incision. It's called board certified by minimally invasive surgery by the American Board of Multiple Specialties in Podiatry.
Okay, that is one, we do accept that specialty.
We do?
I believe
Yeah,
one was added. Oh, goodness.
We have the American Board of Foot and Ankle Surgery, the American Board of Podiatric Medicine, and American Board of...
And what's the last one? You cut out.
American Board of Podiatric Medicine, American Board of Foot and Ankle Surgery, and American Board of Multiple Specialties in Podiatry.
Okay, then I'm wrong on that one. But I'm just saying that I would feel uncomfortable of her reviewing a case. I think if the case we're reviewing is a surgical case, okay, I don't think I would feel that comfortable having her be the reviewer of that case. Because let me explain the difference. Minimal incision surgery is like a whole different school of thought. Carolyn, you can help me out on trying to explain this.
Sure, yeah, I understand. But who decides what, so here's the thing, Judy, that I agree with you. There are some cases we get that I think that we would feel that she is qualified to review, given her education, training, and certification. However, I don't disagree with you that for, rear foot, complicated, anything more than, forefoot surgery, that it would probably be best served by someone who has more experience in that field. And so my question is, who decides which consultant gets which cases? Meaning that she...
I agree with you.
She would be better for some and not as good for others.
Right.
And I understand your concerns.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that she's board certified in minimal incision surgery, I don't think I don't know, maybe we have other consultants that are, but that would be reasonable if, especially if that type of case came up, because it's more apples to apples. But, I don't think if, something came up like an ankle fracture or a fusion or a rear foot surgery, like you said, I just would not feel comfortable having her be the expert witness.
May I speak up really quickly just to add to the discussion? So each of the consultants and experts, they are to assess their own experience, and they should not take cases that they don't have experience working in that type of surgery or case. or if they have any type of conflict, like, working relationship, personal relationship with that DPM that they're reviewing. So I guess it would be a matter of, trusting the individuals to not accept cases that they're not qualified to review, which is part of the training. And it does happen occasionally where someone says, hey, you know what, I don't have the experience in this type of procedure, so I am not, going to take this case. And I don't know if that makes any difference on, your concerns for case review, but it is
Right.
personally, where we assess their qualifications and also where they assess and say, hey, yes, I've worked in these procedures before, I've done these surgeries, and I'm qualified to review.
Yes, because just looking at this young, I'm sorry, not young, everybody's younger than me now. Looking at this candidate's CV, it looks like she would be, appropriate for minimal invasive surgery, diabetic foot wounds, and general podiatry. Looks like she would be qualified on paper to review those cases, but not necessarily the more complicated foot surgeries that we're talking about. And what we don't know is will she recuse herself from those cases or not? Because we don't know, I think that's Dr. Manzi's concern is we understand what you're saying. They don't have to accept them, but we don't know if she would accept them anyway. We don't know that, I think is what Dr. Manzi's saying. We don't know if the person, if they'll accept or recuse those cases.
That's right. And, I've seen a few of these cases come through now that I'm like, what was this person thinking when they were reviewing these? And so I know this is a really hard thing to put in place, consultants and experts, because we can waste a lot of everybody's time if this isn't done right, and we can hurt the public. So, I just think out of all the things we do, this particular subject matter of how we screen these people and who we are training to do this, this is, we got to take this, we have to look at this really seriously. So yes, I agree with Carolyn. I think that it should be a fine member to add, but I also hope that there's a good check and balance in place when assigning either a consultant or an expert to the specific cases that come through. That's my big concern. And that's the whole thing with these board certifications. It's okay to allow all these recognized boards, which is a great thing. But then once again, maybe it should be like apples to apples. Like if the person you're actually reviewing is a diplomat or a board certified, maybe they should be assigned to someone who's reviewing that is a diplomat or board certified with the American Board of Foot and Ankle Surgery.
I think some of the issues we come down to when we try to control it that much is we have a small panel of consultants and experts. And it's a small community where a lot of people know each other. So we can do our best to, assign the cases on that level. But it starts getting a little bit difficult finding someone who's able to review a case. There's some that are very well-known podiatrists that may be up for review, and we might only have one or two individuals of the entire panel of consultants and experts that can review them because they wouldn't have any type of bias or, professional working relationship. We definitely do our best. A unit that's been assigned to the Division of Investigation that actually helps us in assigning our experts. And they have a whole checklist of, checks and balances they go over to make sure that there's no conflicts and that the person has an understanding of the subject matter and an ability to perform the review. Again, we can't control whether an individual says, oh yeah, I'm qualified to perform this review, but they actually aren't. Maybe in the case of this individual, maybe because there's less experience, it might be a better placement to be a consultant at the beginning of the process where they're doing the initial review. And then if anything, seems suspicious, and actually also maybe not provide cases where there's more complicated surgical cases. But the original review.
Okay, so she did a rear foot reconstruction residency and had 115 rear foot cases plus more than, I think, 500 forefoot cases. She's probably on staff of a hospital who has checked her qualifications and she may well be approved to do rear foot surgeries and may continually do rear foot surgeries at her hospital. So we have more to look at in her. If we care that much, we could ask what her hospital privileges are.
Yes, I'm surprised that's not on her CV. Her hospital privileges.
Also, though, she might have the privileges, but I'm more concerned about how many of these are you really doing a year? I'd rather give this to someone who like, oh yeah, this is a part of my practice. Granted, you don't do a billion rear foot or ankle. A lot of them don't, in a year's time, but at least you're doing them on a basis of some sort of regularity. That's what I would rather see the consultant be assigned to a case like that. Now, she may have incredible experience with diabetic wounds or this minimal invasive surgery, which, good for her. I would not take a minimal invasive surgery case. I don't do it. And so, if we get one that involves that would be wonderful. And she would be a perfect candidate to review that. I'm just saying that I would bet that she doesn't really do a lot of that surgery just by looking at her CV. Even though she did the residency, a lot of people don't practice like they did in their residency.
So I agree on that point. I do see that she does not have her hospital privileges on here, which is interesting because that usually is on your CV. And then the other piece, Judy, looking at the big picture, if this is an ongoing concern, when we do applicants, we can request more. We can, if you want to start requesting caseloads, like we do for, when we get reappointed at the hospital, we have to list, how many cases we did in each category. I don't know if it's similar for you, but that's what I have to do. If we want more information like that, we have to ask for it. But as of right now, today, my concern is she does meet the qualifications that we have listed for a consultant.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. This is Karen, Maria. I'm just going to jump in because I do see two things. One is the candidate in front of us in terms of approving for a consultant or an expert role, and the other one is the question of process for identification for the candidates to what is already a difficult one and finding valid candidates. So may I suggest that we move the discussion into the process itself back to committee, and then we bring back a summary of that for the next board meeting. And then if we want to move forward with this candidate, we have a motion. And if not, we can, if we want to reevaluate and bring more questions to the candidacy, we can do that again for the next board meeting. But that'd be my move right now in terms of processes. So we bring it back to committee to look into how the assignment and review of candidates for nomination are, and then on a separate vote, let's decide if we want to move this candidate forward or not.
That's a great idea. Do we need a motion for that?
I don't believe you need a motion.
I don't think we need a motion.
Okay. Yes, and because what I'd like to see when you guys are looking at how someone can apply for that, we should think about the hospital privilege question because that's something we should think about as a board. Do you think it's necessary that they have a hospital privileges to be either a consultant or a expert witness? Current hospital privileges. I think that might be, or because you can't be in a surgery center if you don't have a hospital privilege. So that I think is something that might be something we need to discuss.
And if the committee is going to consider that, the only thing I want to mention is that we might have retired members who are consultants who may not have active privileges but had a robust career. So that if the committee is discussing it, throw that in there as well for fun things to talk about.
Exactly. I agree. I think that this will save us money in the long run, honestly, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for someone that can actually look at something and say, yes, move it forward, or no, don't move that forward. It's ridiculous. Or, this is why it's negligent or whatever. So I think let's go back and re-look at all this and really kind of lay out what it is we're looking for in both of these things. And what is the maximum and the minimum we expect our consultant / expert to do. And I do sympathize with you. I know this is very hard to get a robust roster. I get it.
Well, I can definitely add that back to the agenda for more discussion.
Yeah.
on hospital privileges as something to consider that maybe we want to add to the application form. Just wanted to mention really quick the retired members. We did make a slight change to the qualifications to allow for some of our retired individuals to consult for us for up to, I believe it's 5 years beyond their retirement date, because we sometimes have cases that drag out for years, and an individual may have been involved with the review at the end of their career, and then they retire and they're still have a connection to that case. And this is to allow them to complete a case with us. And also because they've completed all of their training and had the hospital privileges up until that point. So they're still fairly close to working, directly with patients on a regular basis. So if that's something that the board wants to reconsider as well, we can discuss the whole thing.
Well, thank you for sharing that piece. Actually, I'm comfortable with that policy.
Me too.
I think that's benefit. I think that's a good benefit, getting the beauty of their experience, but also setting a time frame of 5 years. I'm quite comfortable with that current policy.
Great.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling me what it is.
I have a comment. I notice in the enforcement packet, there's attachment F, which it seems like that would answer some of her questions that she filled out attachment F. Is that something that she should have filled out, or we are now filling out?
She did fill it out. All of them fill it out. I share that with the enforcement committee. It has a little bit more personal information on it, so I don't give it to the public. The enforcement committee did review the application as well as the information from the reviews that I got back.
Just for our ability to approve her, it'd be nice for us to see that form.
Right. Well, I can submit a redacted copy for future board meetings if you'd like to see the entire application packet.
No, but that's part of her application for this, for us to approve her.
Yes, it was provided to the enforcement committee, but not to the full board.
Did the enforcement committee then review that, and can they report back on what, did that answer some of our questions?
Yes, Dr. Lee is a little more involved with updating the forms and being the DPM on the enforcement committee. And unfortunately, he had his emergency surgery today, so he could have spoke up a little more if he were present.
Yes, and I see actually looking at this form that number 6 does ask about where you have surgical staff privileges. So could I request that we table this application until the next meeting when Dr. Lee is available to share with us the committee's thoughts about this candidate?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, this is Brian. I think that's a wise choice. Bring it back to committee. We'll come for some more, or call for some more information, and then have the committee re-examine that, and then we'll take it to the board in June.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys. That's great. Thanks, Maria, for bringing that up. Now, we're going to move on to the legislative. Oh, wait. Do we open for public comment now?
Madam President, this is Joseph Chin. You don't have to open for each of these topics, but you could if you'd like to, as long as we open for public comment for each overall agenda item. In this case, it would be agenda item 5.
Thanks. Okay, so that we'll move on to the legislative. Does anybody else have anything else to say about this right now? If not, we're going to move on to the legislative regulation program and update with Dr. Zaff.
Right, thank you very much. We had some few interesting items on the legislative agenda. Kathleen, are you there? Can you hear me? Am I muted?
This is the moderator.
Can you hear me?
Was just...
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Very good. Okay. All right. So thank you, Dr. Zapp, and thank you for all your leadership in this committee throughout the last few years. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'd like to report on the bills that are coming up, which are in 2 categories. There are 2 primary bills, which are very important, And there are a few bills we've been looking at over the last 3 years that just seem to be introduced every year at the beginning of the cycle, but don't seem to be going anywhere. On the report, if you're looking at it electronically, you can click on any one of those highlighted blue bills to see the text, history, summaries if they're written. But just in short, I'll take the secondary ones first. AB 97, as well as AB 473, have to do with insulin affordability and also podiatric equipment that will be covered under Medi-Cal in the future. We can see which way this is going. However, I don't know if these will be the vehicles to get that in its final legislative form, but they keep coming back, so they're on your report. 278, AB 278 is once again the same bill about how we process podiatric billing with the Medi-Cal system. That's also on hold. The only one that actually has been set for the beginning on these secondary bills is the Medical Records Act, which sounds like it's a little bit of a suspension of the HIPAA requirements when you're investigating one of the licensees, and I thought it was important. I don't know if it's going to continue to the end, but that's the idea of 920, SB 920. Now, on the two primary bills, the first one is called leg podiatric x-ray equipment. I think most of you that are practicing, our DPM members, are all aware of what it is and what it would mean in the office. I'm going to defer to Brian in a second because he's been involved with CPMA and people at DCA, and he has his knowledge front and back, forward, and behind everything with that bill. That's 1704, AB 1704. And the secondary one, Brian, has also been on meetings with the DCA staff. That's the Open Meetings Act, 1733. And as we all know, we've had our requirements to meet in Northern and Southern California at least once a year suspended during the COVID. That may not carry us up to our next June meeting. And Brian, as we talked yesterday, maybe I could defer to you on the two important 1704 and 1733 for your specific knowledge.
All right, this is Brian, Executive Officer. AB 1704, that is the radiological bill that CPMA has dropped. And we've been working with CPMA, with our staff, giving them support. Right now, the ortho and the radiology associations have a position of oppose unless amended. So the way the bill reads right now, I think there's going to be some amendments to that. In April 13th, we're going to be a part of the RTC board meeting, and Dr. Rubel and Dr. Ball are going to be presenting the issues, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion of how we can move this forward. So there's a lot of missing pieces, and there's a lot of discussion that still need to happen. However, I think at this point, I recommend the board take a vote for supporting this item, this bill. And this is the bill where it's a limited license for an MA to take an online course, so they don't have to go to the school, and it's all the lower extremity x-rays.
Yeah, Michael Zaff, I make a move that we write a letter in support of this bill.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion on this? Okay.
A little technical, I'd like to input. It's not technically a letter so much like we used to do, as much as it's like a letter, but we register it online with the office that sponsored it to show our support. So it's not, you won't see a letter, but you will get a copy of the online response.
Yeah, I'm in my motion to show our support to the powers that be for this bill.
And I still second the motion. I was there for a lot of this discussion, and I think this is crucial for all the podiatrists who have a private office in the state of California.
And that's one of the issues that came up. What was it, yesterday, Kathy? Right? We were working with Ledge, Ryan Spencer, and myself and Kathy were on a call, and Carl Bierman, who's back with us as our IT budget analyst. And we're trying to figure out the costing of this, right? Because they have to put in a fiscal analysis. And we don't track how many private practice offices are in the state of California. So to get those numbers, I got to figure out how I can reach out and figure out how many private practices are in the state of California. And then if they have MAs, which I believe they probably do, and how many MAs would take interest in taking this course. And then that would give us the numbers that we need of if it's, the problem is we don't know if it's going to go back to the public health or if it's going to be pushed to us. If it's pushed to us, then we're looking at probably a new PY, which is new staff member, a new license type, all of that. I know for a fact that public health is not going to let that go because it's income for them, which is fine. All we have to do is put to the board the online curriculum, and the board takes a look at it and approves it. And then once that's done, we're pretty much RHB will handle the rest of it. So that's where it is right now. But yeah, letter of support right now would be good until we have that conversation April 13th with their board and see what the board members think about this. So it's really.
I might make a suggestion that we look towards phlebotomy as an example. Back in my previous life, I was a laboratory inspector for the state of California, and any laboratory director could instruct one of their employees in doing phlebotomy and write a letter certifying that they are a phlebotomist.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be accepted in another lab because there is no real licensing for phlebotomy.
Right. Yeah, so there's a lot of moving pieces to this bill. So as we move forward to more discussions, more talks, and more strategies, I think the letter of support will do us justice. Now, Joe, do they have to open it up for public comment since they did a vote?
Yes, that's a good idea. Let's open this up for public comment for a few minutes, a few seconds. Thanks.
We are now open for public comment on this matter. If you would like to make a comment, please type the word comment into the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send that comment to all participants. If you are a dial-in user, please dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will take comments in the order we have requests. It should be noted that Ms. Miller, an employee of DCA, is the only person in attendance at the moment. Would you like to close comments at this time?
Yes, please close comments. And Mike, Dr. Zaff has made a motion to send the support regarding this bill, and I second the motion. So if we would like now to take a vote on this.
Kathy, are you there?
Yes, I am. It seems to go back to its own muting, even if I don't do it. Okay, I'm so sorry. Dr. Manzi.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Ms. Cadenas. Maria Cadenas.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. McAloon.
Yes.
And Dr. Zapp.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
This is the moderator. Kathy, I have been muting you when other people are speaking because your system has a little bit of an echo.
No problem. Thank you. I'll try to turn down my volume. Okay. Very good.
Okay, moving on to SB 1733, 3. This is the Open Meetings Bagley-King Act. And through the COVID, we had an emergency executive order that we could conduct meetings via WebEx. And that is ending April 1st. Is that me giving all the feedback, or?
That's Miss Cardenas. I have muted her microphone.
Okay. So April 1st, we will go back to the regular way we used to do meetings, meet in person. Now, this bill is a hybrid bill. It first started out having WebEx opportunities, so you could stay where you are, how we're doing it now. Now they came up with a hybrid solution, and that is probably going to move forward. The hybrid solution is basically board members, they don't have to disclose the location. You can still do the WebEx. However, it would probably be me in a public location accessible to the public, ADA compliant. So there's got to be a public location, which, works well with board members, so you don't have to travel. More convenient, especially if once we're completed, you go back to your patient care or your other business. So at this point, that's what I know. I also recommend a letter of support on this as well.
I make
So
a motion
moved,
that
Michael
this
Zaff.
board. Second, McAloon.
Was that Michael? You were the first?
I think so, but I'm not. Yeah, I'll say yes.
Okay. And Carolyn, did you second?
I did.
Okay. Discussion?
Are we going to have an option of attending in person?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so Kathy, you want to take a vote?
Okay. Dr. Manzi,
Aye.
Ms. Cadenas,
Aye.
Dr. McAloon,
Aye.
Dr. Zapp.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And can we open up for public comment?
We are now accepting public comment on this matter. If you would like to make a comment, please type the word comment into the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send that comment to all participants. If you are a dial-in user, please dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order that we have requests for public comment. It should be noted that our attendance has not changed. Ms. Miller is our only person in attendance. She is an employee of DCA. Would you like to close comments at this time?
Yes. Yes, we can close comments.
Comments are closed. The floor is yours.
Okay, there's one more bill, I think, right?
I don't know if there's one more bill as much as there's the disciplinary guidelines for our regs, which it's pending. I can't say more than that. It's been on our plate for a long time. But Brian and I do have a plan to try to get it going this year. Would you agree, Brian?
Yes. So it's kind of good that we didn't charge this back in maybe 2020 and submit that package to OAL, because we had the probation disclosure go through, right? That was amended. So we'd have to pull that back and then resubmit, redo everything. So our plan is to work with the regs unit and get this going. It shouldn't, most of it's done. We just need to add the probation disclosure language to it. So it should go quickly. And then hopefully maybe by June's board meeting, we'll have a rough draft or maybe a final draft for you to take a look at. And then once you approve that, then we'll submit it through the process.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. So now I think we can move on to public education. But Darlene is not here. So
as the fellow member on that committee, I will be happy to present the public education report by asking Kathleen to give us the report.
Well, thank you, Dr. Nicklin. The committee met on the 23rd, and we talked about footnotes. It is currently submitted to DCA for it being typeset. Thank you to everyone who presented articles. We did have something from Dr. Lee about residents. Staff presented things, and we also have our calendars and just the updates on enforcement actions and the future calendar for 22. We're expecting that next year, when we do the next printed newsletter, we'll have the strategic plan and all the news about that to talk about our next 4 years. So we're looking forward to that, covering most of the meat for the next newsletter. So that is happening, and you'll see a copy of it soon. I can't control DCA's process of setting it. We're not printing very many hard copies, though. We have a lot of old hard copies in the office. Although they said they would print us a little bit, mostly it'll be online and available electronically. Any questions about the newsletter production or this issue of the newsletter for 2022? Okay. Next on the report is the website and social media accounts. So what's available to us through DCA is Google Analytics. And we've talked about in the committees reviewing the analytics of the pages that people hit and go to see if we can find out what's the most important to them, and maybe truncate certain areas of this website and focus on others. If anyone ever has any comment during the committee, we said it's so important that people who use the website let us know if they see anything that looks a little old or needs to be updated, or just any comments at all. Having it reviewed by board members and staff members and people that are stakeholders that are involved is very helpful to us. But that will be probably part of the next, maybe the October meeting that we have, of all the analytics of what is happening on our website. As far as the other social media accounts, Facebook and Twitter, we have decided that is part of our duty with the governor and with DCA. However, our goal is not to just have, links that don't matter. We sometimes get invitations from other parts of the world to be friends on Facebook, or things that don't seem really to be related to Podiatric. So we haven't responded to all those. Our policy has been kind of just to keep getting the message out. And I think we've been pretty successful at that. So if anybody has any comments on our social media accounts or our listserv, would like us to focus on something for the future, just let me know now, or send me an email at any time. Any comments on that, Dr. McAloon? About the last meeting? I think it was agreed that the analytics are important.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
does anybody have any comments or questions about the public education program report?
Carolyn, I do have one quick question. So we are doing like some social media. Are we going to talk about that next, or as far as like this Facebook, do we have an Instagram thing? Is there a Twitter thing happening? Anything like that, or any plan for that, I guess?
Yeah, I'll have Kathleen speak to that, please.
We did not get an Instagram account set up by DCA, and that was their policy decision. I don't know if other boards do Instagram, but we always, get instruction for Twitter, which we do send out, whether it's a cures announcement or the COVID announcements. They come from the governor's office and sometimes from DCA. Those go out right away on those two accounts. We also have a listserv, but we don't have Instagram. Is anybody here want to discuss the possibility of that? Do we want to do that?
I don't think we're big enough because honestly, it takes like a full-time person to be Instagramming. So I was just curious. I know we do have Facebook, you said, right?
Yes, and we use it regularly.
Right.
And Twitter.
That's the only question I would have, because you can do whatever you do on Facebook can automatically feed into an Instagram account and vice versa. So you just turn on the block thing, you know what I mean? And I don't know what if DCA is going to say no, we don't want anyone on Instagram, or if they say yeah, sure, go ahead, you can do whatever you're doing on Facebook on Instagram. I'm not sure. That would be something to look into.
Okay. I think they set up our accounts in 15 or 16, and we didn't get an Instagram. We've never talked about getting it, but I could look into if it's even a possibility.
I mean, I suspect it is, because I think I see boards on there. So just, I don't know. I could be wrong, but, and I don't know how important it is, but, you know, I'm old, so I don't know. But the younger people.
I'll look into it. I think,
oh no, we should be on Instagram too. Who knows?
I'll look into the possibility of whether that's even possible.
Okay, that's great. So do you have any other discussion here? If not, are we ready to move on?
Yes, thank you very mumuch.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go on to executive management update and possible action. What we're going to do is discuss setting the possible 2022 date for the 2022-2026 strategic planning session. So Brian, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yep. I thought it was unmuted. Do you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So I've been working with Solid. It's that time. 4 years have gone rather quickly, and we hit quite a few of our goals in our last strategic plan. So now it's time to think about a new strategic plan. And working with Solid, they said they could probably start penciling us in July, August, or September. So not knowing the exact date, just a consensus with the board, what month would be better for you? July, I know it's pretty tough because people might be on vacation. And this will probably be an in-person meeting, depending on if 1733 passes. I'm not sure yet. They expedite it. But yeah, so it's an all day, 8 hours, if you guys remember when we did that first, or the one when I was here. So it's 8 hours. So what month works best? I don't have the full board, so just can ask you guys, or I can have just a Solid pencil something in. But I'm thinking September might be a little bit better.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking September was I was going to recommend.
I would like September too, but I'll be out of the country for 10 days. So we have to make sure in September, those 10 days may be around.
Okay.
I can tell you those dates, you know.
Yeah, just text them to me. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then, not.
But I agree. I think September you'd have a better shot at getting everybody there.
Right. I think so too. Because July and August, it just seems like everybody's, vacationing or other things are going on, enjoying the sunshine. So I will work with Solid and let the board know what that date would be, so you can pencil it in. And Judy, send me those dates so I can schedule around that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything to add to that? Okay, if not, we're gonna, now we have to move on to a closed session to discuss a disciplinary matter. So let's do that.
Madam President, this is Joseph Chen. Before we move on, just to make sure that we've covered the entire agenda item 5, we should open for public comment once more.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
Right, let's open up for public comment.
We are once again taking public comment on the entirety of agenda item 5. If you would like to make a comment, please type the word comment into the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send that comment to all participants. If you are a dial-in user, please dial *3 to raise your hand. We will take comments in the order they are requested. Our attendance status has not changed. Ms. Miller, an employee of DCA, is the only person in attendance. Would you like to close comments?
Yes, you can close comments and we can go into a closed session.